Hello and welcome to the 2024 season. This is the first of our 3 modules for training this year. This module is going to cover a lot of general information that we hope will be helpful to you as you go through the season. There are 2 email addresses that will be key to you this year. njpahockey@gmail.com is our general address. And if you have any ethical issues or unsportsmanlike conduct that needs to be reported, whether it be officials, spectators, coaches, or anybody, you can use the njpahockey.ethics email address to inform us of issues that need to be dealt with. Our website is also on here, but it's one of those Google sites, so it's a bit long. Just Google NJPA Hockey, and we are almost always the first result. When you go to our website, you'll also be able to find the coordinators and coaches for each of the towns and a lot of other useful information that we'll get into in Module 3. Whether you are a town coordinator, a coach, or an umpire, you are responsible for being familiar with all of the sections of the rulebook as they apply to the divisions you are involved with. This is incredibly important. Umpires and coaches especially, you should have a printed copy of the rulebook with you on game day. But we also all have these little machines in our hands that have access to the internet. The rulebooks are posted on the website and they are current. I can't underscore enough how important it is to have access to the rulebook at all times. Disagreements can happen on the field throughout the season, and you'd be amazed at how often we hear about a coach who believed the rule was one thing, and another who believed it was something different. And of course neither coach nor the umpires had a rulebook, or thought to look at the website to solve their disagreement. The rulebooks are there to help you, to guide you, and they are there to resolve these uncomfortable situations. So make sure you have your rulebook, and make sure you know your rulebook. To the coaches, you are the adults. You should be modeling good sportsmanship at all times. Coaches, please impress upon not only yourselves, but also your players' families that good sportsmanship starts with the adults. Model that behavior and the kids will follow. You should not be screaming and yelling at the officials. If you were berating a 15-year-old kid anywhere else, you'd probably be arrested. Why would anyone think it's okay to do it at a game? Be the leaders. Be the adults. Show good sportsmanship, and it'll be a good day. And again, always remember our league is about providing an opportunity to the kids who want to learn this sport. Winning is fun, but learning and sportsmanship is what we are here for. We want to create lifelong fans of field hockey, not kids who disappear by the middle of their elementary school years because everybody around them is screaming and yelling. Again, our mission is to encourage sportsmanship and personal development through field hockey. Sadly, every year this mission is pushed aside from time to time, to the point where some towns have chosen to leave our league. We cannot allow this to continue. We have had umpires not return because of how they are treated. We had to downgrade our year-end 5-6 tournament to a playday due to sportsmanship issues. We needed to rewrite the rulebook because towns were spending more time trying to exploit what was missing from it, rather than teach their kids to play fundamentally sound field hockey. Why? So you can win an elementary school rec league game. It's not everyone, but it's enough to have a negative impact that must be addressed. If you have complaints about the quality of the umpires, have you stopped to think that perhaps many don't stick around long enough to develop the expertise you're looking for? Speaking of umpires, reviewing them and paying them. Both teams are expected to contribute equally to the cost of the umpires in every game. This has been a rule for a few years now. The only exceptions are as follows. In the 7-8 division, the $90 cost of the certified umpire is to be split evenly between the 2 teams. The youth associate umpire will be paid by the league, at least for this year. For the younger divisions, if there is only one umpire, that umpire gets $35. However, the home team pays the full share of $25, the away team contributes $10. Besides the fact that this will make it easier to split the cost without singles or coins, we are also hoping that this discourages home teams from only assigning one umpire as a way to save money. Also, coaches from both teams should review each umpire individually every game. Don't review them as a pair, don't review them as the blonde one and the brunette. We can't help an official if we don't know who needs it. Get their names. If you didn't get their names from the website, ask them in the pre-game meeting. Write them down on your paper score sheet that we all will have at the table. And umpires, this isn't necessarily a one-sided thing. If you have a problem with coaches or parents or fields or facilities, or any kind of situation, please report that to the league. It's equally important that we know who's giving problems to you and to try to solve them. Sideline ambassadors were introduced several years ago. Each team should have an adult on the spectator side of the field who is going to be our eyes and ears. Hopefully they don't have anything to do but sit there and watch the game. But if we do have an issue where spectators are jabbering at the officials or otherwise getting cranky and unsportsmanlike, what we want the sideline ambassador to do is to come around to their town's coach and alert them of the situation. It'll then be on the coach to elevate it to the other coach, the umpires, or both, to try to resolve or calm the situation. We do not want a spectator to interact with another spectator on the sideline and potentially create a bigger problem. We'll get a bit more into this in other sections, but here's a cheat sheet on what constitutes a team at each level. Special note about goalkeepers: there are none at the 2-4 or micros level, only defenders. More to come on this subject as well. Equipment. Let's start with socks. At every level, 2-4, 5-6, or 7-8, white or light-colored socks should be worn by the home team, and the visitor wears dark socks. If the home team wears anything other than white and there's a color conflict, the home team is responsible to change their socks. So if you're one of these towns that go out and buy funky crazy socks with a lot of colors on them because nobody else has them, that's great. Just make sure before your games that you check the website or with a contact from the other team to make sure there's no uniform conflict. This is a game that's played on the ground, so it's important for the umpires to be able to know which team is which, while watching the ball and watching the sticks, not looking up to see the color of a shirt. Speaking of jerseys, there are no light or dark regulations on the shirts, but if there is a conflict, the home team should be putting on pinnies of a contrasting color. It is your responsibility, as the home team, to put those pinnies on if there's a conflict. Segueing into colors, we are no longer prohibiting the white, clear, or fanged mouth guards. Just make sure each player is wearing one. Eye protection. Goggles are allowed, but they are not mandatory for 5-6 or 7-8. They were never mandatory for the 2-4 level. Just be aware that glasses are not goggles. Kids who are out there wearing regular glasses that they would wear to school are risking severe injury if there is contact to their eyewear. Regular glasses shatter and can inflict serious damage to their eyes. Anyone who needs to wear corrective lenses and does not wear contact lenses should be wearing the rec specs with some sort of shatter-resistant lens. Last thing on this slide for equipment: every home team should have a scorer's table and a clock. And please, it should be a clock, not somebody on a cell phone. Sidelines can get crazy, and you don't need a delay from a distracted scorekeeper who needs to switch back to the clock from her Facebook feed or her camera app to tell you how much time is in the period. The clock operator is a game official and should be paying attention. One other note: each team should provide a scorekeeper to sit at the table as well. For the home team, this can be the same person as the clock operator. When both teams know and agree on who has scored so far, some power down controversies are avoided. We had situations in recent years in the 5-6 division where scores do matter, where two coaches disagreed on the final score. In one case, it was the difference between a tie or one team winning over the other. Neither had a paper score sheet, both were tracking in their heads as they went along. Are we surprised there was a problem? This is easily avoided when two people sit at the same table and track the score on paper. Goalie equipment. This is the list of goalie equipment. Everything in the mandatory column is mandatory. That includes a neck guard, often forgotten, and a mouth guard, often ignored. For those of you who are saying, "But she's wearing a face mask, she doesn't need a mouth guard." The purpose of a mouth guard is not so much about protecting your teeth. It is to provide shock absorption in case your head hits the ground and your teeth slam shut. That is a leading cause of concussions, and that is why a goalie and everyone else on the field needs to wear a mouth guard. So do not ignore this crucial piece of equipment. Arm or elbow pads are optional. An improperly equipped goalie is not a goalie and forfeits all goalie privileges. So make sure your goalie is properly equipped. And if you don't have a goalie on the field who is fully equipped, no player has any goalie privileges. I promised you there'd be more about goalkeepers in the 2-4 division. Though there shouldn't be, because there aren't any. No player should be told to go play goalie in these younger divisions. They are defenders, they are backs, they are not goalkeepers. If you are not teaching them to play defense by marking their opponent, you are doing a disservice to their development as a player. In the picture on the left, this lonely child is not doing anything to participate in the play or to prevent a shot from being taken. She's 8 yards away from the action, where 3 attackers are working against 2 defenders. This is not to say that players, defending or attacking, cannot enter the small circle in front of the goal. They certainly can. However, they should only be doing so as part of actively defending or attacking, not camped out waiting to get hit with a ball. And lastly on this point, while little goalies can be incredibly adorable, we are not adding them. Each of our divisions plays on a different sized field that has been designed specifically to guide the development of each of the age groups. Program coordinators should take care to ensure each of their fields is marked in accordance with the rules. Each town must also ensure that their fields are maintained to provide a safe playing surface. On game day, the home program will drive the final decision in the case of inclement weather based on weather conditions and field playability. The home team is expected to provide benches for both teams, a scorer's table with 2 chairs, a clock to keep the game time, and toilet facilities. Lastly, the home program should assist the umpires in making sure that the 5-yard buffer zone around the field exists and remains intact. Umpires and coaches should alert the league if a town has fields that are not proper, as we've previously discussed. Umpires, you should be doing a pre-game walk around, and this is one of the things you should be looking at. Visiting coaches, let us know as well if you see something that doesn't seem right. When referring to the field, let's make sure we are using the proper terminology. 16 yards, 25 yards, or 50 yards, regardless of what the actual physical line distances are for those particular age levels. We really want to encourage the kids to learn the proper terminology so that when they get on a full field in middle school or high school, that's one less thing they need to adjust to. This is another opportunity to remind everyone that the 25 and the 50 are the same line on a 5-6 field. It's also a good opportunity to remind everyone that the dimensions of the 2-4 circle changed last year to a more traditional-looking D. It is very important to recognize that all of the lines on the field are in bounds, or part of the zone they are marking. A ball that is on or touching the sideline is still in bounds. A ball on the 25 is in the attacking zone. A ball on or touching any part of the goal line has not yet scored a goal. Speaking of goals, each goal cage must be positioned behind the goal line, not on it. This is to ensure that there is a line of sight to determine whether the ball has fully crossed the goal line. The placement of the goal cage is a common setup error across our fields. Also to the umpires, make sure as you're walking around the field that there is a 5-yard buffer between the field and spectators, player benches, the scorer's table, etc. It doesn't have to be marked, it can just be eyeballed. This buffer zone is for player, umpire, and spectator safety. Umpires need to be able to run on the outside of the field to stay out of the way of a sideline play. Players can play the ball with their feet and bodies completely outside the field if the ball itself is still in play. Spectators who get in the way of either of these risk injury to you, the players, or themselves. You'll see in this picture an example of what you may find at any field. The spectators are way too close to the sideline. Throughout this game, there were a number of instances where players and umpires were unable to go where they wanted to because of the crowd. If you don't know what 5 yards is, there are hints on every field. The 2-4 field has a wing lane that's 4 yards wide. The 5-6 field has hash marks, 5 and 10 yards from each goalpost, that's 5 yards apart. The 7-8 field has those same hash marks and the dashed circle 5 yards outside the 16. Use these hints to guide you. The notion of what constitutes 5 yards comes up quite a lot in field hockey. Do not let this happen. The next few slides, I'm going to go through quickly. For the 2-4 coaches, you should become very familiar with these slides and use them to help coach your players. They are also available as a separate file on our website for you to have even more handy. Understand that in the 2-4 division, what we are really trying to do is prevent what we've referred to over the years as the soccer swarm, where you've got 12 kids on the field chasing one ball. We don't want that. We want to teach them to be spread out on the field, so while we have these weird lines that don't exist in real field hockey, they are very important to teach the kids to maintain spacing and positioning. The 2-4 level is 6v6, just remember that inside the 25s, it's 3v3, again to maintain spacing. Let's say it again, there are no goalies in the league, and no defender should ever be positioned in front of the goal unless they happen to be there while they are marking an attacker. Okay, moving on to the wings. Their domain is this yellow area, which is the alley and the offensive zone. The biggest thing about the wing in this division, and the reason why these alleys exist. The wings should be the youngest, the smallest, the weakest player from both teams. And the key is the wing cannot be challenged in the wing alley by any player other than the opposing wing. What does that mean? It means that if a wing has the ball, and they are coming down the field in that alley, only the wing from the other team can defend them. A midfielder or defender or anybody else from the other team cannot stick their stick into the alley and try to defend. It does not make any sense to put a rookie second grader against a fourth grade midfielder with 3 years of experience. So we have the wings in this protected zone. The coach's wing is usually going to be your least experienced player. And the far wing is probably going to be your second least experienced or skilled. Bottom line, the one you need to talk to the most should be on your side of the field, the other can be more independent across the way. Center will probably be one of your more experienced players and gets the entire middle of the field and the attacking zone. Your midfielders are the center of the field and the defending zone. And by and large, your defensive back is going to stay on their half of the field. In the 2-4 division, we do have a couple of positioning exceptions. If there's a side-in between the 25s, the ball goes out of bounds on the sidelines somewhere between the 25s. A midfield or defender may enter the wing alley, solely for the purpose of restarting the play with a pass. So what do we mean by that? At the end of the day, we want to teach good field hockey. We have these rules to protect the kids, but we also want to teach good fundamentals. The right play for a forward is to get up the field on a restart. So rather than have the wing take the restart and then be out of good field hockey position, a midfield or defender can come in, send the ball down the lane to the wing, and get the offense started as they would at an older level. The intention is not for that midfield or defender to self-start and take the ball out of the lane and dribble it themselves, nor is the intention for that midfield or defender to pass it into the middle of the field, unless there's really no other option. The intention is to train that forward to get forward, receive a through pass, and begin the offense. If the restart is inside the offensive 25, a fourth attacking player, again typically a midfielder or defender, may go inside the 25 to do the restart. And again, The reason for this is so that everybody gets into the right position. We are 3v3 inside the 25, so we don't want to put the offense at a disadvantage by having one of those 3 players have to restart into a 2v3. So the 4th player can take that restart, can move the ball the 3 yards, which is the 2-4 version of a 5-yard dribbling distance, and send the ball into the circle. Once this 4th player makes that pass though, that player has got to get out of the area below the 25. And as you also see here, that player cannot, under any circumstances, enter the circle. Thank you for listening to Module 1. Good luck on the test.